again, glad to be back with you. I've been getting questions about viscoelasticity from some of the viewers and some of my students. And the questions pretty much all boil down to what is viscoelasticity and why should I care? Well, those are fair questions, so maybe we can learn a little bit about it now. All right, let's start with elasticity, not viscoelasticity. Now, if you've taken a class on strength of materials, or sometimes it's called mechanics of deformable materials, you'll see curves like this a lot. Okay, so that's strain and that's stress. Okay, so stress-strain curve, and they all look kind of like this. This is one maybe for a ductile metal. Okay, like maybe soft, mild steel, or a not too hard kind of aluminum. And that slope there is the elastic modulus E. Okay, we've seen that maybe. And we always divide this plot into two segments. There's the segment over here where that's a straight line, and a segment over here where it's not a straight line. And this is the elastic region, and this is the plastic region. Okay, and we're not talking about plastic like the material plastic. Plastic in the sense that we've permanently deformed it. Now, this is a toy that, if you grew up in the United States, you've probably seen this. It's called a slinky. And all it is just a big, soft spring. And they're just the greatest things in the world. You can do things like this with them. All right, the old ones are made out of metal. The ones I had as a kid are made out of this flat wire. The new ones are made out of plastic. Now, these aren't nearly as good, I don't think, but they're more durable. Okay, every little kid who has a slinky, for the first 5 minutes after it comes out of the box, it looks like this. Now, I'm a responsible adult, so mine still looks like this. But when I was a kid, you play with it like this, and the first thing you do is go boing, and you pull it out as far as you can. What kids figure out very quickly is they're going to exceed the elastic limit of whatever this metal is, maybe steel, I don't know what it is. Very soft spring. I can take these coils and I can pull them so far, I can plastically deform them. So go look at a slinky and you'll see one that's got kinks or bends, and it doesn't look nice and tidy like this anymore. It's got some pretty hard use, kind of battle damage, I guess. And you see little kids, they'll bend it, and then, the next thing they'll do is they'll try to bend it back again, plastically deform it again to make it look like this. But this, apart from being a fun toy, is actually a pretty good model of elastic materials. Okay, it's a spring. Right? Now, inherent in this, one of the fundamental assumptions of this curve right here is that strain rate doesn't matter. That is, it doesn't matter how fast a load is applied, strain is applied, the stress is always the same. So, if I take my slinky, stretch it out slowly like that, come back, let's say I were to measure the force and the displacement and some other things, I could make a curve kind of like this. If I go slowly, I get one answer. If I go quickly like that, I get the same answer. That's elasticity. Viscoelasticity is something fundamentally different. In a viscoelastic material, and lots of materials are viscoelastic, the strain rate matters. That is, the rate at which you apply the strain changes the answer you get. And the best example I can find here, I guess today's one of these days we're going to work with toys a lot, is this stuff. Okay, it's called silly putty. Now, again, if you didn't grow up in the United States, maybe you haven't seen this stuff. It's just a polymer that was invented, I think, for some sort of industrial purpose. And some bright marketing person got the idea, well, if I put it in little plastic eggs like this, okay, and write silly putty on the outside of them, I can sell this to people and they'll play with it. I'm sure there's more to the story than that, but that's enough for us. And it's this sort of pink, kind of salmon colored, I guess. And it's kind of stiff and it's soft, and it's fun to play with. Little kids figure it out fairly quickly if you pat it down on a piece of newspaper and lift it up. At least in the old days, you could lift up part of the ink, and so you could read it. You could pick up a picture on this stuff. Okay, so for our purposes, here we're interested in it as the mechanics of silly putty. So what I've done here is I made a little cylinder out of this stuff. All right, let me see if I can make this as cylindrical as I can. That's pretty good. All right, so here we go. Here's a little sort of hot dog shaped piece of silly putty. Now I'm going to start pulling on the ends here, slowly, very slowly, and I can stretch and stretch, stretch and stretch. Okay, several 100% strain is no problem with this stuff. Okay, so what I'm at 200, 300, 400% strain, somewhere in that neighborhood right now, and I can just keep doing this as long as I want. Now eventually it'll get so thin it'll break. Okay, it can't even support its own weight anymore. So let's take this same piece of silly putty, I'll rub it back, form it back into a sort of that cylinder. Whoops, got a kink there. Let me try this again. All right, so I'm plastically deforming it. I mean, you can elastically deform silly putty, but the elastic region's about that big and the plastic region's about that big. It's pretty hard to elastically deform this stuff. It makes great super balls. You can bounce this stuff off the floor. Okay, so here I've got the same piece, and I think I've got enough the creases out of it. Okay, I'm going to take this same piece of silly putty and I'm going to do one thing different. I'm going to change how fast I strain it. Wow, look at that. Exact same piece of silly putty. All right, same temperature, same everything. The only thing that changed was the rate at which I strained it. And when I did that, see, it shattered. Okay, I can even put this back together. It's